Okay, welcome back for the final episode in this series of Property 101 Getting Started in Investing. Now this final little video is going to be about pulling it all together. In video one, I talked to you about your time available and how much you can spend and want to spend on your property investing. In the second video, I talked about the other resources you have at your disposal now and potentially have access to. In the third video, I talked to you about your strategy, so thinking about how you want to invest, what types of properties, what your target tenant type is going to be, etc., and also the financial strategy behind what you want to do in investing. The fourth video is gave you a bit of an overview and the things to consider when defining what your patch is going to be or your investment area. And this video is really pulling that all together. So once you've sort of sat down and thought about all of those things, your resources, the strategy, the patch, etc., now it's time to really sit down and do the digging and the due diligence. So pick up that phone and call everybody that you know who has any experience or expertise in what you want to do, where you want to do it. So for example, we are based out of Reading, and let's say I was a new investor and I wanted to get, and I knew that I wanted to invest in Reading, and I knew that I wanted to do student housing in Reading. Reading has a big university, so in theory there should be a lot of demand. So what I would then do, and pulling it all to, and I don't have a lot of time, so I want to sort of leverage the expertise of other people as well. This is all hypothetical, of course, this example. So what I would do when I was getting started, I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, you guys, first I'd do some research on Google, say, who are the biggest agents who do student accommodation in Reading? I'd pick up the phone and I'd say, hey, Mr. Agent, I know that you guys are one of the big players in student accommodation in Reading. What are your thoughts on the market? Is demand increasing? Is supply decreasing? Is it getting easier? Is it harder? What do students want? Do they want ensuite facilities? Do they want the bells and whistles like coffee machines and lounges and cleaners and all of these other things? What services do they want? What is the best location for us to look for student properties? What is the demand? What kinds of rents can I expect if I was going to invest in student accommodation in Reading? What are the other big sort of macro economic things that are happening that might impact it? So for example, in this scenario, Reading University has also decided to do some of its own purpose-built student accommodation. And I know, again, just from being living in Reading for a while now, other companies have started building big blocks of purpose-built student accommodation. So this doesn't mean that it's a saturated market. I don't know, because that's not that market that we invest in. But calling up these agents and speaking to the experts who are doing it day in, day out will give you a clearer picture. So, hey, Mr. Estate Agent, tell me everything you know. Download their brain and sort of help you get some of the due diligence done that way. And then call another agent and another. And I would say you want to speak to at least 2 or 3 who give you a good amount of information, because they'll each have a different take on things and you'll get different insights from different people. And based on what they're telling you and your own research and due diligence, please make sure you're always verifying what people tell you. Don't take any one person's word for anything. You need to be very, very sort of proactive about the sources of information that you take and also how you use that information. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. And if you make a bad investment decision, you can't really say, oh, well, that estate agent told me it's a great place to invest, because nobody's going to, no one's really going to give that much credence. So do really, really good due diligence. Talking to estate agents is just part of that. Talk to other investors who are doing what you want to do. So, if you know people in Reading, for example, who are already already student landlords, talk to them. Your personal and professional network. You'd be amazed at how many people in your immediate network are probably landlords that you didn't even know about. So start asking questions of the people at work or your family or your friends, hey, do you invest in property, or do you know anyone who does invest? And oh, by the way, I'm interested. Or, just tell people what you're doing and what you're interested in. That you'd be surprised at how many come out of the woodwork and say, oh, well, actually, I've got a friend who's a student landlord in Reading, or a cousin's, aunt's best friend from the pub, or whatever, but you'd be amazed at how much wealth of knowledge and expertise you probably already have in your network and just didn't realize. So talk to the experts who are sort of the professional experts, in theory, the estate agents and others, brokers, solicitors, etc. Talk to all of them. Talk to people in your network. Read as much as you possibly can. So again, most towns and cities will have local newspapers. Get smart about the area that you're considering investing in. Read the local newspaper, go on the council's website. If you want and you're super nerdy, you can read their local plans to see, what's their housing plan and sort of the changes that are coming in the near term. Do some just basic Googling, what companies are there, what businesses are there, what's sort of the ebb and flow of the labor market, of the economy, all of that kind of thing. But do all of your own due diligence in pulling all of this together. Get as much information as you can from lots of varied sources, and then you make an assessment. Like I said, the buck stops with you. So only you can know when you've got enough information, and you don't want to be paralyzed, or that whole analysis paralysis, but you also don't want to make a hasty decision. So be decisive but not hasty. Get the information you need and then pull it all together in your goals. So let's say, again, taking this example, you've decided you want to invest in student accommodation in Reading. By all of your due diligence, you've decided that that's actually a really good place to do it, and then you can take actual steps and then think of all those bigger pictures. Okay, well, now I know I want to invest in student accommodation. Well, based on my understanding, I would need to buy a property of X size, which going on Rightmove, Zoopla, etc., would cost me Y. I know that I have this much money saved up. I have access to this much money from other sources. So I could, in theory, buy one, maybe two, or however many it works out being. Oh, and I also know that I have X number of hours in order to, devote to my property investing. So I can either, do all of it myself, depending on how much time you have, or you can outsource, get project managers or get an agent involved, all of that kind of stuff. But it all fits together. So again, like I said in the previous video, you have to front load the due diligence, the thinking, the planning, the strategizing. But once you've done that and you're on a solid foundation, then the growth and the actual buying will be easier in so many different ways. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. Watch these videos a few times, because I find that anytime I learn something new or for the first time, watching it again and again and again, really you pick out different snippets and different bits of value that you might not have picked up on, the first time. And then talk to the experts. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I am not a broker. I'm none of those things. I'm just a property investor, and all of the things I've been sharing are based on my experiences. But if you have any specific questions, you really, 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 really must talk to the specialists and to the, the people, the solicitors, the accountants, the financial advisors, etc., who can give you very specific advice based on your particular situation. But this, what I gave you, is really just the framework to use when you're thinking about what to do, how to get started, and how to take sort of, distill the entire UK or the entire investment universe and distill it into something that you can actually work with. And these are the things you need to think about. So with that, I will leave you. I look forward to speaking to you again. I'm going to be doing a series. Well, I'll be doing lots of different series. So please just keep coming back to this YouTube channel. Subscribe if you'd like, and you'll be getting great content every week. And I look forward to speaking to you and getting your comments. Thank you again for joining me, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.